In this video, we are breaking down the arrangement of Out of My Mind by Joshwa, so you can take the arrangement principles and techniques and use them in your own tracks to make bangers that go off on the dance floor. So this track launched to the #1 spot, and after breaking it down, it's very clear to see why. It's got the perfect combination of big hooks, big groove, simple story. So if you're looking for a reference track or you want to study an arrangement, this one is absolutely worth breaking down. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. And you can download the MIDI map that we're going to make in the description below. But just in case you have not heard the track, let me play a little bit of it right here.
Out of my mind, I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm going insane. This beat is twisting my brain. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm going insane. This beat is twisting my brain.
You guessed it. We're back with another HG2 formula. HG2 formula is my simple name for the kind of boilerplate arrangement structure that you'll find in house, tech house, bass house, but especially like house and tech house. And it is very simply goes like this. We've got the intro, and then what I call the bass drop, where we introduce the bass line. We got the first break, where we usually introduce the main hook. We're going to look at all this. Then we get into the first hook drop. Hook drop 1 or HD1, where we put the hooks over the groove, give the people what they want. Then we break it all down in the main break and build. They want the thing back. So then over here in HD2, hook drop 2, we bring it back. We give them the hooks over the groove and everyone is happy. And then we go to outro. So intro, bass drop, break 1, hook drop 1, main break and build, hook drop 2, outro. Probably 90% of top tracks are going to be following this formula pretty strictly. Not because everyone's copying each other, but because that is what the market selects for. When DJs are playing music in front of thousands and thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, and they're testing their tracks out, they see what works, they see what doesn't, and the human mind selects for the HG2 formula. And that's why we see it coming up and over again, just like the 3-act structure of movies. It's just the way we like to consume the story of a song, the idea of a song. So what we're going to do is in Joshua's track, we are going to just kind of break it down and look at the hooks and groove and how they kind of develop over time, and look at how it's following the checklist, you can say, of the HG2 formula. So let's go ahead and start creating some MIDI maps. You can download this MIDI map, of course. I probably said that, but I'll say it again. So let's get going and see what mastery is involved here. Here we go. So let's just come over here. So we're in the intro. Intros and outros are for DJs, not producers, right? Because we're just trying to mix in, and you want to just keep it simple for the DJ. Joshua has a full kick right here. I can imagine someone asking a question about that. Just doesn't matter, because the DJ is probably high passing out this kick anyway, so not a big deal. If you want to do the DJ's job for him and high pass out the kick, be my guest, doesn't really matter, but we're just giving them the beats. That's it. Okay. Now, this is kind of a description of what we want to do, kind of high-level understanding of each section of the HG2 formula. And then this is a little checklist of what we could do. If I have an asterisk next to something, then that typically means that it shows up a lot, but it's not like required. You know what I mean? Although, which is kind of ironic, because asterisk on a form usually means required. Doesn't matter. This is kind of optional, you can say, all right? Everything is optional, but these are common patterns that are even more optional. This is kind of like, yo, you should probably do this. All right, so here we go. Let's get the beat in here. So this is beat. There we go. Okay, cool. And so some other things that you can see in here, a little bit of a motif because of that kind of rim shot. It just... You also hear a really light snare in there, a little bit of a fill again, just at the 4, about halfway through at the 8 right there. All right, but that's pretty much the intro. Let's keep on going over here. All right, and then this is where I wanted to get to, because right here, intro hook tease. You'll see this a lot if you watch these breakdowns. And this is just a way to introduce the hook, kind of tease what the track is before you go into the groove, because a lot of DJs will kind of be starting to drop the track into here. So you hit them with that new hook and then boom, you go into the groove. So it's a really easy way for to help DJs just smoothly transition into your track with kind of teasing or previewing what the track is, what the hook of the track is, so people can get excited about it, because, you know, if you're a DJ, you want to create excitement on the dance floor. So what we're going to do is we're going to do Vox right here, and this track is mainly using one vocal. There's some vocal texture that we're going to track or map in here, but there we go. So we got the intro hook tease. So intro hook tease. There we go.
This beat is twisting my brain.
All right, and then we get into the bass drop. So let's go ahead and keep the higher level map going up here, which is just going to be the overall arrangement map. So here we have intro, and then we're going to have bass drop. So intro, and the question is, what are we going to do in the bass drop? So let's go back over to the cheat sheet and see what we've got to do. So here we go. And one thing we definitely are doing is introducing the bass line. It's called the bass drops because we're dropping the bass line. So there we go. Let's bring this down. Awesome. There we go. Cool. So we got the bass. And let's come over here. Unique thing. I mean, do you want to call the rim a unique thing? Not really. Identifier, not really. Maybe the pattern, you know, but whatever. The most important things are going to be these guys right there. And Joshua is ticking those boxes, you could say. Now we're getting in the bass drop. The bass drop is where we introduce the bass line and only the bass line. There's other things we could do here, but for the most part, only the bass line. Why? Because we want to teach people how to move, groove, and dance to the track before we start throwing hooks on top. Otherwise, we're going to overwhelm the listener. Oh my God, what should I pay attention to? Right? You want to get that groove moving from System 2 to System 1, you could say, if you guys have read that Thinking Fast and Slow. But that's what the hook drops are for. We want to just let the groove play, and then later we'll throw the hooks on top of the groove, because that's going to be what these hook drops are for. But here, bass, 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 intro the bass, okay? And some other little things we could do here is we could start teasing some more hooks as we work towards the break, the first break, okay? So that's what we're going to try to do. Other thing, again, is like here a lot of DJs are going to be mixed into the track. And so you don't really want to be throwing a bunch of hooks on top, because at the end of a song, for example, an end of a song could be playing hooks because of the momentum from that track. And so here those hooks still could be playing right there, especially if the DJ is high pass out that track, but the hooks are still there. So keeping it simple right here so there's not this big clash of hooks, you know. And so anyway, so moving on, keeping it simple for the DJ and for the listener, just introducing the groove character, introducing the bass. Here we go. So you can see it right here, Joshua just introducing the bass. Very simple. Is there anything that's going to happen here that's going to pull us towards the break? That's the next question. And that will divide this into an A section, B section, where A section is going to be groove, and then a B section you're going to lift somehow. Could be like a hat, could be a shaker. It's not that important, but something might come in here. And at the same time, something might help transition us into the first break. So we might get a lift in energy in the groove, especially, or in the hooks. And then we might get something that helps us pull into the first break. So let's see.
I think I'm out of my mind.
Okay, a little bit more of the vocals. So there you go. That's a little bit of a lift, but still just teasing the vocal. Let's see what else.
I think I'm out of my mind.
And there you go. Do you hear that vocal texture kind of coming up right here? It starts low, it starts to work up. Sounds like something kind of like Tantra or Infiltrator, whatever, your pick of multi-effects plugins that make something rhythmic and cool. But That is a great example of a transition. It's a creative transition. It's not like a riser, although I have nothing against risers. I love risers. They communicate that we are going somewhere new for the listener. But if you could do something in a creative way also, then even more power to you, you know? And so here, Joshua is just going from low volume to high volume on this texture. Maybe a filter's opening up on it too, but this is a transition. It's moving us in a direction. And that is what we want to be doing here because we're moving towards a new section. Just checking to see if there's any additional drums in there. Okay, it doesn't seem like it. Cool, let's keep going. All right, and now we are in the break. But let's see, in the bass drop, did we get an A section, B section? We did. B section, did we get a lift transition? We did. Got a little bit of a lift with that vocal. Although it's more of like a tease. A lift would be something that kind of just plays throughout, like an additional hat or a ride or a shaker or some kind of weird percussion texture in the background, you know, like, but you can even consider that vocal texture a lift, but it's serving the purpose more of a transition element because it's coming up in volume and moving us, creating that forward momentum into break one. Does the transition, the B transition right here, does that foreshadow break one? Not really. For example, a good way of foreshadowing would be like, so right here he says this beat, right? So if you were going to do a foreshadowing transition, it would be this beat, this beat, this beat, this beat, this beat, boom, this beat is out of my, you see, that would be an example of a foreshadowing transition. So we don't have that. Corresponding drum lift with the bass. So when the bass comes in here, do we get some extra drums? We do not. Punk says ear candy entry. Is there an entry? Okay, so not that. Just this stuff right here, always the most important. I'm going to bold it right there. That's the simplest. Introduce the bass line. A section, B section. A section is groove. In the B section, do we get a lift in energy? Do we transition to the break? You can see how critical and basic that is to storytelling in a track. And all those boxes are being checked. So now that we're done with the bass drop, what we're going to do is we're going to go into break one. So let's map this here. Here we go, break one. So we'll do break one. What do we do in break one? It's a great question. So in break one, this is where we take the groove away in some way, and we introduce the hooks, okay? The idea is similar to the bass drop. In the bass drop, we only introduce the bass for the most part, little teases here and there, but for the most part, just the bass. And we hold back on the hooks, right? This is the only little hook tease that we get right there, just a little tease, right? But in break one, we flip this idea. We hold back on the groove and we introduce the hooks, all right, in a bigger way. Okay, it's not binary, you know, it's not like no, all groove, no hooks, all hooks, no groove. It's not like that, right? It's a little more subtle, And so here's mostly groove, here's mostly hooks. Now, how do we hold back on the groove here? It is, high pass on the kick and bass. You could take a kick out, you could take the bass out. When you take out the low stuff, people just stop dancing in a big way. Like they start to kind of shuffle. When they're shuffling, then they're like, okay, now what, DJ? You know, and so that's when, as a producer, you give them the hooks. You occupy their attention. If they're not dancing, they're not locking into the moment, then they're going to get bored. So you hit them with the hook. Now, also, what we're doing here, we're going to talk about this more in terms of storytelling, is here we're introducing characters. Here we're introducing the groove character, like we mentioned earlier. Here we are introducing the hook character, but we are introducing them separately for the most part. Separately, so that they can come together over here for the first time as a payoff, right? So here we're introducing groove, introducing hooks. Ooh, look at that. They come together. Amazing. All right, so let's see checkbox-wise what we got to do over here in the break. Number one, give them a break. So how's Joshua doing that? So no kick. And also, you can see a high pass on the bass. The bass is not playing in full. So the kick goes away and there's a high pass on the bass. That's how he's transitioning, right? That's how he's giving them a break. So now people are shuffling. It's how he's removing the low end. All right, so this is going to be no kick. And the bass right here is going to be HP for high pass. Whoops. So let's Command R, HP. Okay, also a little bit of an effect right here. And I just want to map this because I know this is going to be a little checkbox here. And this is just going to be a break entry. So effects, this is going to be break entry. There we go. All right, so now we got vocal. Okay, now you can also hear something else is being introduced, another hook, not just the vocal, but the kind of like, let's just call it the sound design riff. The bum bum bum. Okay, and so let's map this. And let's map out where it is. I'm not going to map out the exact notes, but I just want to keep track of it. So bum bum bum. Okay, so let's loop that because that seems to continue, and then I know it goes down at a certain point. Da-na-na. So this last one right here, just the fourth one. Da-na-na. Ba-na-na, da-na-na, da-na-na. Whatever. We'll just go like that. There you go. Good enough. And then we will loop that. There we go. Now there's another, so but you can hear there's another kind of vocally texture in here. I'm just going to call it Vox texture 2. Maybe I'll call it effects texture, but let's see. But you can hear it, it's like a purr. That's what I'm going to call it. Vox texture purr. Okay, so I'm going to call this like Tantra, just because it kind of reminds me of something that Tantra would do, although it could be anything. All right, but this has going brr, brr, brr. This is also growing, so he has some kind of reverb on here. Cool. So lots of twisting my brain here. Let's see. Twisting my brain. I think I'm out of my mind. Okay, cool. So he's given a different vocal right here. So tease. These are all just teases, but at least there's a response here, because I was like, man, is it all just twisting my brain so far? But it's not, because here it's a little bit of introducing new vocal. Okay, cool. And then here we go, going insane. So that's a new piece of vocal. Out of my mind. Twisting my brain. Going insane. Okay, now this is cool because it reminds me of like, people have been doing this for ages, but it reminds me of what Dissip is doing a lot, where he just loves chopping these vocals. Like, all right, cool. Messed up the timing on that. I wasn't paying attention. There we go. Say. Maybe I'll just pull these guys back a little bit so you can see the gaps a little bit better. Cool. All right, so this is just a stretched vocal, and so you can do that by just I'm just going to take the stretch vocal and stretch it even more. So if we come over here and just get this guy, and then we come over to, you could go to any of the warping algorithms, but if you hold down Shift, boom, now we're stretching it. So that's what beat sounds like, but you can also do, so it's repping on transients, but you can also do different lengths. So that's stretching on 30 seconds, stretching on 16ths. Try different ones. All right, what about 30 seconds? Stretching on transients with forward mode. That sounds crazy, but of course you could do other ones. All sorts of different crazy things you could do. See, now I'm actually like wanting to produce it. You know, you could just go crazy with that, but that's how you do it. Shift, and then you can mess around with the different warping algorithms to get something crazy so that other producers are like, oh my God, dude, how did you do that? All right, so we got these guys here. We're still getting this texture. Is this texture in here? Yeah, this texture's still going. Insane. All right, so here then we're gonna get a rep. All right, so insane. This reminds me of a breakdown from No Sleep by Medusa, where they do the stretch thing too, and then they go into a rep, which is cool. So rep. So da-na-na-na. All right, so let's keep on going like this here. All right, so we'll loop that out. So this is clearly like an endless smile up, washing out, I should say, you know? Then here we have Out of My Mind rep. Out of my mind, I think I'm out of my mind. 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 Okay, we've also got some kind of like white noise effects up. Out of my mind, I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm going. Now that could also just be the washout, but we're just gonna throw some effects in there for some good measure. Out of my mind, I think I'm out of my mind. Out of my mind, I think I'm out of my mind. 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 I think I'm going insane. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm out of my mind. I think. And there you go. Now we're gonna get the payoff. Out of my mind. So let's see. Let's map out this. Out of my mind. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm out of my mind. Out of my mind. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm out of my mind. Out of my mind. I think I'm 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 going insane. This beat. And then we have the insane rep that we heard earlier, which is really important because now that's coming through in a new context and it's triggering the drop right there. So out of my mind, I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm out of my mind. It's a really good example of just using hooks as tension elements just through repping, which is, let's get to that. So okay, back to the break, because it's a cool break. So here, we want to give him a break. How's he doing that? Again, no kick, high pass on the bass, teasing the vocals through here. So keep the groove alive, though, because it's still going. It's not like it's gone away. The groove has not gone away. So these right here are two groove notes. So again, story of hooks and groove. These are the groove notes right here. And then, of course, introduce the main thing. Well, we're getting the main thing in a much bigger way, obviously, right? Because the vocal's the thing that kind of takes over the break. So we're getting the main thing. But once you kind of introduce the actually, once you take away the groove in some way and you introduce the main hooks, then you build tension. This whole thing is just the tension building section. How do you do that? Rep, roll, rise, grow. So rep is hook repetition, roll, snare roll, kick roll, crash roll, rise is anything going up, white noise, tonal riser, bass cutoff is opening up, vocals pitching up, who knows? Anything that's going up, grow is growing to space, reverb and the smile, delay, anything. But this is the tension menu. You don't have to use everything, right? But you can just pull from these because this is how you build tension. So what's he doing? He's obviously building tension. But are we getting a rep? Absolutely. Because here we get the stretch into a rep. Then we've got the crisscrossing of the rep with the insane rep going down, and then the out of my mind rep coming up to set up the payoff right here. So let's actually go like this, and then I will just color that yellow so it's nice. And then now that's it. For the break, for the most part, that's the most important thing. One other thing I did want to map was the entry, which is right here. The bring. Now, atmosphere. I would check off atmosphere because these, this sound design riff right here. Boom, boom, boom. That's pushed back in the mix. You got like a room reverb on there, and it's just creating a little bit of atmosphere. Also, the textures in the vocal create a lot of atmosphere. And then we're dealing with the transition. How is he transitioning into the drop? Well, if we look,
I think I'm going out of my mind. I think
what he's doing is a PIPO transition. A PIPO stands for pattern interrupt payoff. PIPO, pattern interrupt payoff. And so what's happening is we have this building tension, or we have this building pattern. It's building, 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 building. That's the pattern. And then that pattern of building gets interrupted. It stops. And then we get the payoff. So pattern, interrupt, and then pay off. And that's what we're getting. Then you explode into the drop. So if we play that, you'll hear it.
Out of my mind. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm going insane.
Right? It's pretty subtle. It's smooth. It's not super abrupt as you can get it. But we're getting that payoff moment, and then we explode into the drop. So he's using a PIPO transition, and he's checking off every single one of these boxes right here. And this sheet was made years and years ago. So you can see just the storytelling elements here are just kind of constant, but it's just how you do it. This is structure, not content, right? And so how he's doing it is going to be unique and creative, and that's what makes it cool. All right, so now we're done with the break, and we're going into the hook drop. Okay, so let's map out the hook drop right here. Here we go. And let's see what we need to do in the hook drop. This is where the story begins. We introduce the groove character back here in the bass drop. We introduce the hook over here in break one in a big way. But now in hook drop one, we bring the hooks and groove together for the first time in full groove, full hook, right? This is the thing that people want. This is the drug. This is what we get them addicted to in a good way. Hooks over groove. Hooks over groove. And this is going to be one of the best examples of a hook drop. This track right here is one of the best examples. Another good example that I love, and we'll talk about both, is La Danza by John Summit. But the structures here between these two, La Danza and this track, are very similar. But just awesome. Okay, so now we're getting into the hook drop. So we'll do HG1, hook drop 1, HG1. And let's see. We need hooks over the groove. Are we getting it? Let's see.
This beat is twisting my brain.
We sure are.
Out of my mind. I think I'm going insane.
All right, so we got the beat, we got the bass, we got clearly the whole vocal here, which is really cool. And I'm going to talk about it in a second, but let's just see what else we got.
This beat is
a little bit of an entry, kind of like an avalanche sound, kind of a mid-rangey effects drop entry. Sounds different than the entry over here at the break. But this is like a cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, there's some kind of ping pong delay on there. Very cool. So
this beat is twisting my brain. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm going insane.
Now there we go. So let's get this in here like that.
Going insane.
Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to map these like this because I want you to see that at the end on this one, we're going to get one going up an octave. Oh, there's just going to at least be a higher layer, and I just want to indicate that by separating them like this. So here's low, and here's high. All right, so
Going insane. This beat is twisting my brain. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm going insane. This beat is
cool, and not even an edit, just steamrolling right in. By edit, I mean just like a little high pass or something here to go into the next 8 bars. We're just going right into the next 8 bars, playing that vocal again, same synth pattern in the gaps of the vocal. It's just great. No, we'll talk more about it, but I just want to get this down. Let's see.
this beat is twisting my brain. I think I'm out of my mind.
All right, but there is a little bit of a lift here in the vocal itself, which is going to be a Vox drop texture. Could be some kind of four-monted version of it, like all sorts of different things you could do to have fun with it. Pitch it, four-mont it, freaking put it through a vocoder, put it through spectral resonator. There's just so many things you could do here, and it doesn't really matter what Joshua is doing. It's just that he's lifting with some kind of vocal texture, and that is cool because it just slightly lifts that energy.
This beat is twisting my brain. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm going insane. This beat.
All right, did you get that? And we got that avalanche again over here. All right, I'm going to call it that, although I don't know how to spell that. I think that's right. Avalanche. Cool. If I spelled that wrong, you can make fun of me.
This beat is twisting my brain. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm going insane.
There you go. And now we're getting an edit. So I just want to do a little bit of an edit map. I'll probably forget about this in 10 seconds, but let's just get an edit map right here. Edit, again, is just where you just do a little bit of edit on the groove. Just like break it up a little bit. Remove some of the low end, especially. So that allows you to reset into the next 16 bars, especially here, which is going to be the A section, B section. And so, okay, cool. Let's talk about this. So we have an A, we're going to have an A here, and then we're going to have a B here. So A section, B section. But one thing I want to point out is the use of the vocals right here is it's teasing, right? We never get the full vocal just kind of playing until right here. And I really like that because we can't be sick of that vocal as it plays in here. Now, one alternative way that this could still work is if he played the full vocal right here, and then went through this whole stretching and rep, it would still work here. But the fact that he kind of plays it twice, so we would have this vocal playing 3 times in almost 1 minute, would be a lot. And so it seems like a conscious choice where he wanted to just kind of tease things and keep the hook like presented a little bit more, but still hold back on it. So that way, when you landed in the drop, that's when you finally get that full vocal. So I thought that was a really cool move. Another thing I want to point out is that it's just so simple. Like there'll be tracks that I break down. Like what's the track that I literally just broke down like an hour ago? I already forgot it. What the heck? I have a horrible memory. So side pieces misbehave. Like there's some sophisticated things going on in those drops with things that I call punks and triggers and chokes. If you look up London's on Fire breakdown, same kind of thing. It's really sophisticated because there's not a big star hook that's playing in those tracks. But in this case, we do have a big star hook, which is the vocal. And so you don't have to rely on a lot of low-level arrangement detail when you've got a big hook that just completely takes over the listener's attention. You just get to play the hook. It's the star of the show, you know? And there's not a lot of other little things that get in its way. But there is little things in here that kind of fill the gaps of the vocal, right? And so if we play this,
Out of my mind, I think I'm going insane.
there you go. And then it repeats again, but look at the kind of call response here. So we get a low call and then a high response. And so right here, it's very simple, but there's still good principles going on, obviously, right? So here we get the vocal kind of phrase, and then we get a low synth that fills the gap. Here we get the vocal phrase again, but then we get a high synth that kind of fills the gap. So we get a call response right here. We also have that sound has been introduced back here as well. But what we're not getting is we're not getting the calls on this sound. So we better expect at some point those calls to come back, probably in the main break and build, or even over here in the B section, we'll see. But again, I just want to point out there's a lot of cool things that are going on here that are easy to miss. Yeah, and just to highlight, just again, the synth filling the gap, repeating the vocal phrase, the synth jumping up an octave to call response at the 8. That's duplicating. We're getting the vocal texture lift. Very simple. We're getting only the synth responses here. We're not getting a call, which probably sets up the B section. But a lot of these things right here that are in the drop were already kind of set up and teased back here, and now they're coming together in the hook drop. So if we come back over to the hook drop right here and start checking off boxes, what do we check off? Hooks over groove? Absolutely. One of the clearest possible examples that you can get of hooks over groove. Same with this equation right here, the HD1 equation. This just basically says the groove, and I should kind of put this like this, HD1, because it's more chronological this way. So the groove from the bass drop plus the hooks from break 1, do they come together in HD1? That's bass drop plus break 1 equals HD1. So it's just the math of the storytelling, right? So the groove from the bass drop, the hooks from break 1, do they come together in HD1? And again, this is one of the cleanest, clearest examples of this happening. Same with La Danza, my favorite arrangement. Although this one's now rivaling it. So A section, B section. Are we going to get an A section, B section? We're just going down in order of priority of what's most important to have going on during these sections. So there is going to be an A section, B section. So let's look at what that is going to be.
Out of my mind, I think I'm going insane. Twisting my brain. Twisting my brain.
There you go. Okay. And so now we're getting that full sound design riff right here. We're also getting an organ on top of the organ follows bass. And I just want to confirm that real quick. Yep, bum, 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 bum. So downwards melody. If you want to look up directional melodies, I have a video about writing directional bass lines. But this is a good example of a down melody, obviously, because it's going down. But there is more to it than that. There's more to it. Okay, so here we go. So here we are in the B section. Okay, so I'm going to do Vox telephone, because that's what's kind of going on here. You can even call it like, and maybe a little bit of glitch, because there's a little bit of glitch in there. Cool, I just want to map out that vocal right there, the telephone glitch. All right, and then we have the organ is following the bass, so now you can hear the kind of sound design riff. Is it the same sound? I don't think it is. Oh, it is the same sound. Okay, cool. Okay, but high level, what I want to do is here, A section, B section. I mean, if you could just boil the A section, B section down to one single word, that's going to be ideal scenario. And so this is just going to be vocal, right? And there might be other things going on, but you're not listening from a producer's point of view. You're listening from a listener's point of view. What is that one thing you want them to focus on? There could be peripheral things to keep things interesting, no doubt. But what is the focus? That's the key thing. So here in the B section, man, this is what I'm going to call chat, right? So what I mean by that is the hooks are kind of now having a chat. Like we gave them the main vocal hook here, but then in the B section, we're getting the organ, we're getting the sound design kind of riff, the little synth, and then we're getting the vocal. And all three of these are just kind of vibing. They're just kind of having a chat together. Like, but you can hear the where this stuff was written. So here we have the downward movement in the bass. So let's just map this out. Bum bum. Bum bum bum. So it's going down. And then bum bum. All right, and then that's what the organ and the bass are doing right here. And then so maybe we can copy this onto here and go like this. But you can see where this is sitting, like where this is coming up. Like kind of when this stabilizes, this probably goes down to the tonic. So do. So it sounds like. So what's that? It's F, E down to A. So this is an A minor. And so, so 6, 5, 1 basically. So right here when it finally lands on the tonic, we get that kind of movement up. But look at the counter motion too. So this is moving down, this is going up. But over here, so now we're starting to get a little bit more of like a phasery kind of effect on here, like. Okay, and then we're gonna get a kind of layer on here, which is just gonna be a little bit noisier, a little bit more harsh. What I was curious is, you know how this is going low and then high? So, and then, so this is a different synth altogether. This is more of like a pluck. I'll just write it on here than the other one. But it's just playing that melody there. And then I should really have this as a different one. So this is going to be pluck. So we'll go down here like that. There's definitely a different sound there, but still playing the same riff. But then, you know, this is going low, high, low, high. Is this going low, high? No, so this is staying constant. So you can see this is just an intentional decision to make this interesting in the gaps of the vocal. Just a little bit of call response on that sound. But this section right here is the B section. It's just, you're taking a little piece of that vocal over here, just throwing it into like a telephone effect, maybe a little bit of a glitch, like right here. So right here is going to twist in. But then we're getting that interaction between the bass and the organ. Like those are the same thing. They're playing the same parts. And then that kind of just riff right here. And then just getting the fall down at the 4, at the 8, 4, 8, like getting a little bit of a lift right here. So just like the vocal got a lift in the second 8 bars, now the primary hook, I would say the sound design riff. So let's do SD riff chat with vocal. All right. And I'm going to put this in parentheses because it's really that sound design riff, I think, and the organ. So SD riff plus organ. Oh no, I just broke my own rule of keeping it simple. But you know, there we go. So we got that sound design riff, the organ. That's the primary hook. The organ's just a layer on the bass. But then these guys are just kind of interacting with the vocal. But here we get a lift on that sound design here. And just like there was a little bit of a lift on the vocal right here. This one's a little bit more noticeable. And then there's also that kind of vocal texture that's kind of playing throughout as well. You can hear it just kind of rhythmic. Cool. So a lot of those elements just kind of coming together here in like a little bit of a vibe section to contrast from the A section vocal, B section just kind of like synth vibes, and very cool. So let's come back over to here and let's look at what we got. Well, right here is basically what we're getting. We got the A section, B section. First is vocal, then sound design, chat with Vox. A section, B section, CLT. Yes. So we could go into this a little bit. And basically, CLT just stands for chill lift transition. So that's basically like when you're in an A section, what can you do? And so in this case, you could think of this first 8 bars as chill. We're just chilling. We're just listening to this now. This is the normal right now. And then we get into the second 8 bars. What do you do? Well, in this case, just a little bit of a lift with the vocal texture. And so we do have an A section lift. We also have a B section lift. It's just extremely basic arrangement principles that are being done. So we have the A section lift, and then we have a B section lift as well. A-B edit. So A-B edit is preparing the listener to change from A section to B section, or if we go from one hook to another hook, because that's a pretty big deal.
Out of my mind, I think I'm going insane.
And so same thing. We have the same right there. And like, I'm just going to take this piece right here and move it up there. And so that's just getting recycled as a way to kind of change sections. And so we do have an A-B edit right there. It's pretty simple. And there you go. Punks edits, full development, entry, false start. No, none of that. Because this is all just like tactical. This is all micro production. This is all macro production up here. And so when you have a strong hook like what Joshua does, you don't need to rely, like I was saying earlier, on micro production. You just rely on the big things. Hooks over groove. A section, B section. Even within A section, B section, doing a little bit of a lift right there. And so there we go. So now that we're out of the hook drop, what are we doing? Now we're getting into the main break and build. So that's going to be this next section right here. So let's go like that. So it's going to be a main break and build. Okay. And then what we need is to see what we got to do here. So in the main break and build, we take away what they want, which is hooks over groove in some way. The hooks over groove, like I said, is the drug that they are now addicted to. We gave them a hit. They like it. Now we take it away to build tension, but we ease into it. And then we ease into kind of breaking things down. And then we prolong the return of what they want. We just make them wait for it, right? So the most important structure of the main break and build right here is the V taper. So breaking the energy down and then up. So down, then up. It's like that V, you know? We ease down and then we build it back up. All right. And when we build it back up, what are we doing? We're building tension. Building tension for what purpose? To give them back the thing that they wanted, which is going to be the hooks over groove that was introduced over here. All right. So let's see how things are broken down.
This beat is twisting.
Okay, so first, how do we transition from the drop into the break? Well, what do we get? We could do a high pass, we could do a strip, which is just kick bass, hook typically. Cliff dive is where you just completely take the groove away. So what are we doing?
This beat is twisting my brain.
So pretty much the same thing that happened before. So here we have a high pass bass, and then here we have no kick tops, basically. Cool.
This beat.
And then we're still getting that kind of weird sound over here, the purr sound. You can hear it better now.
This beat is twisting my brain.
Maybe it's not coming in yet. Just a little bit of an entry here.
This beat is twisting my brain.
So okay, getting a little bit more. I'm going to bring this over here, see what happens. But
this beat is twisting my brain. I think I'm going insane.
So a little bit more than the vocals that we got back over here, but still not the full vocal.
I think I'm going insane. This beat is twisting my brain.
All right, let's bring this over here. There's also a new texture in there, so we'll just drop it in the effects. I don't know where else to classify it. So like new texture. I'll just call it MBB texture. And MBB for main break and build. And so then we'll just go like this here, like that.
This beat is twisting my. This beat is twisting my brain. I think I'm going insane. Going insane.
Okay, so here we go, going insane, and then we're gonna get insane rep.
Going insane.
Cool. So going insane. We'll just go like this. Boom, like that. Cool. Just to kind of map that. And then let's see. Let's get this right here. And then we'll just go like this. So that's going to rep. And then what happens? So how are we breaking down, right? If the V taper is so important, how are we break it down? Well, here. So here the kick goes away, but we're getting the full bass. So now we get a high pass bass. All right, so there's your steps down. Okay, and then here there's going to be another step down you can see. So no drums, but now we're going right into a repetition. So that builds a lot of tension because there's nothing other than the repetition, which is lots of tension. Except for maybe some of these textures, and then he's bringing back the pluck. Or not the pluck, but this guy at least. Okay, you can hear the growing on the going insane right here. Just endless smile or whatever you want to use. Reverb, doesn't matter. All right, cool. And then we're going to get a little stretch vocal right here. Just like stretch. You can hear that this is coming up, gain up, I'll just say, or even just to make it vague, creeping up, so that we're not specifying exactly what's happening. Same with the high level, the higher layer on this too. It could be the same sound and maybe he's just opening up a filter or just, whatever. I'm just going to have these as separate sounds here. But you hear that kind of scratchy texture on there. Okay, so here we have sane, nane, rep. Okay, so pretty much like this. I like that he's repping going insane here and then chunking it down and then repping saying nane on the next one. Like, that's cool. All right, so here, just kind of making that rep smaller. Not sure if that was intentional, but it's certainly cool. All right, so out of my mind rep is coming up just like before. You can hear that the riff now is almost playing like a Jaws theme. Notice how this one goes down, but this one doesn't because we're going to start to get that that insane rep. And then here, this starts to rep. So it's like do. That's cool. And then we'll see where that washes out to. So this obviously washes out. So here we have a kick roll. Cool. Okay, and then we finally get the payoff again right here. All right, cool. And so that is the main break and build. Again, just using the big things, like using the main elements. There's not a lot of other stuff. The only thing is, if we come back over here, I'm just going to take all this and just kind of push it inward a little bit. Actually, maybe like this. And so we do have the V taper. We got that step down, obviously transitioned into it. And then obviously we had the building energy. So what do we have? We have the rep, of course. We have a roll. We have that kick roll. Rise. Let's see. Do we have a rise in here? Let's see. I don't really hear rise, but there's definitely a grow. And that's just what you're literally hearing right here. The washing out of a lot of those elements to make room for the out of my mind rep. And then the transition into hook drop too. What is it? It's just the pipo transition. So we got that kick roll and then I think I'm going insane. That building pattern gets interrupted. So pattern interrupt. That building pattern gets interrupted. We get the payoff. Going insane. Right? That little glitch. And then boom, we go into the drop. So elevation over break one, absolutely. So what that means is, again, with arrangement, we're trying to develop things. And so how is this bigger and badder, you could say, than what came before? And so, for example, even just the kick roll is an elevation. Pretty similar, but the washout starts to kind of go away here. Here it does not. It goes right up to the edge. And there we go. All right, so that is the main break and build, and now we're going to get into the last drop, hook drop 2. And so let's come over here and map this out. So there was a little bit of an extension here in the drop. So I'm just going to go like this, or maybe I'll do it here. Insert time signature change. There we go. That way we just get things back into the nice grid values. Okay, something like that. Okay, cool. I think that was right. Anyway, all right, so now we will, I'm going to take this whole thing here and I'm going to just move it over to hook drop 2. All right, which freaks out a lot of producers because, oh my God, don't we have to develop? And isn't arrangement the development of the song? Yes, but you got to understand that it's still storytelling. Like what the story basically that's going on is we give them something cool here, and then we take it away, we break it apart, and then we give it back to them, which is the whole point of what we're going to talk about here. Hook drop 2 is what it's all about. Okay, if we think of a track as a joke, as an analogy, this is the punchline, this is all the setup. It's all about that moment right here. We introduced the groove in the bass drop. We introduced the hooks in break 1. We put the hooks over the groove in hook drop 1, which this track is an amazing example of that happening. And then we have the main break and build where we separate the hooks and groove. And then when we took the hooks and groove away in the main break and build, that made them cry. It made them want it back. They want it back. So what we did is we doubled down on that tension here. We extend it. We make them wait for it. We tell them, we promise we're going to give it back. We're going to give it back. And then you give it to them again here in HT2, the thing that they want. If you give them something else, if you overdevelop in your production, then it's a bait and switch. You're giving them something that they didn't want. It could be cool. It could be cool, but it's not what they wanted. So there's going to be a feeling of disappointment. So here there's like a fork in the road for producers. Either you deliver the ultimate dopamine explosion by giving them the thing that they're anticipating, or you give them the ultimate dopamine disappointment, right? And that's where you just let them down. And of course, Joshua is not going to do that. He's gonna give us the thing that we want. So let's come over here. Hooks over groove, absolutely. HT, this is what I'm talking about here. HT1 equals HT2, plus or minus. Now we can add to HT2, make it bigger, better, more elevated. But for the most part, what we want is, can we do this? Nope, that's definitely not what we want. Nope, that's not what we want either. Well, whatever the, hold on, let me see. Is this it? No. We want we want them to be roughly similar. So let's see what's Joshua is doing over here.
This beat is twisting.
So now we're getting the vocal again, but this time we're getting a strip. So strip is just basically kick, bass, hook. And so he's breaking things down just to the kick and the bass right here, and then the hook on top.
This beat is twisting my brain. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm going insane.
So we had the dun dun dun, but this is, bigger. I'm going to actually go like this. So if we listen earlier, I think this was a little bit softer. So, and then here, it just sounds more intense. We're also getting a little bit of more of a fill right here because he's bringing everything back. So this is going to be full drums. There we go. And so let's just color that red. And then here we're going to get a little bit of a fill. Let's just go ahead and color that yellow.
This beat is twisting my brain. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm going insane.
Now we're still getting the high one, so we're still going low to high. Now what's going to happen over here? We're going to get the same lift.
Going insane. This beat is twisting my brain. I think I'm out of my mind.
Yep, you can hear the vocal texture on there.
Out of my mind. I think I'm going insane.
Okay, here we're not getting the avalanche though. Okay, so back over here, if I play this
beat is
he gave us a little avalanche sound, right? But he's not doing it here.
this beat
So that is different.
going insane. This beat is twisting my brain. I think I'm out of my mind. I think I'm going insane.
All right, so now we're going to get that avalanche sound over here. Do we get it over here, going into the B section? Interesting. So that's just a random kind of creative decision where we get it kind of halfway through the second 8 bars of the A section of hook drop 1, but now it's serving as an entry into the B section of hook drop 2. Don't have to overthink that at all. So you can, another big difference here is that he's stepping down because we don't have the sound design riff anymore here. So it's just the organ, the bass, of course, and then just this vocal right here. Are we getting the vocal texture? Now, there's a couple things you could do here in HD2. One is you can make the moment even bigger if you wanted to, you know. But what Joshua's doing is he's starting to break things down. He's starting to step things down into the outro, into the next track. Now, I could be wrong because something can bring it over here, but let's see what happens. There we go, and now we're just going to go into the outro here. All right, and then no bass right here. And there we go. Okay, cool. So, man, what a great example of just a extremely well done HD2 formula. And let's just check off some of these boxes. So this got A section, B section. We did not get a B section lift or transition. If anything, the B section we fall to outro is what I would kind of label that. AB edit, yes. Punk's edit's ear candy, not necessary because we have the big hooks. Elevation over HD1, yes, because of the strip. So strip in little a, which is just the first 8 bars. No front loading, which means bringing energy in earlier from hook drop 1. Punks and edits don't really matter. We do have the AB edit. We already checked it off there. Entry, false start, so nothing tactical. This is just basically, are you doing tactics? And there's nothing tactical there. All right, outro, groove then beats. Perfect. And so let's just map this real quick. There we go. This is going to be outro. All right, so takeaways. What do we got here? We've got, again, an amazing HD2 formula. The thing that I love the most is you've got the super classic A section, B section structure, which is going to be the vocal, and then you're going to go into some sound design element with that interacts with pieces of the vocal. Having a chat is another way to think about that. Like, man, it's just so good. And then just simple HD2, you got the bass, we got the hooks in the break. I love the fact that you're not given the full hooks in the break until that drop. And so this is a little bit of like a tease until you finally get that vocal in the drop. Here, another thing is there's so many creative uses of the vocal. So if anyone's ever wondering like, man, what should I do with my vocal? Just listen to tracks most of the time. You know, like instead of, one of the things that I really like to tell the producers I work with is just don't play guessing games. You know, like you don't have to sit there wondering or guessing what you should do. You can go listen to a track and get inspired on what you can play with. So here we've got teases of vocals. Here we've got a stretch vocal. That stretch vocal turns into a rep that washes out. And then from that, we have a vocal that kind of creeps up and moves us towards the payoff. Like that's such a cool thing to do. And you could do that in your own way. You know, that's just structure. It's not content. You can fill it in with your own content and your own unique way. And then the main break and build, nothing crazy, just kind of prolonging that, breaking things down, building it up, but still using the same things, the stretch, the reps, just making things a little bit bigger, kick roll to make it bigger. Also kind of repping the synth here into that kind of like Jaws thing. That's kind of cool. And then HD2 here, bringing us back to HD1, a little bit of difference with the strip in the first 4 bars, then getting back to normal, and then the step down in the second 16 bars, or in the B section of HD2, with not playing the main synth riff and just playing the kind of telephone vocal and the organ bass, just to kind of step things down into the outro. So extremely well done, very simple, but making sure that you're picking the right things and telling right stories. So it's always the same things, right? Big hook, big groove, simple story. Big hook, big groove, simple story. And this is just a really good example of it. Great reference. And so if you've got your own insights or questions, leave them down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in another breakdown. Don't forget you can download this if you want to use it. Other than that, I'll see you later. Peace.